change chairs at the same time last time. Miss Shirley does this.
I think I've had that.
Somebody's not gonna do it already. 2001,
They're ready for us whenever you all are ready.
Boston.
Okay.
A couple of years. Yeah, it's better. That one was what the.
Okay. All right, we are calling to order the regular meeting, Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for Colleyville, June 22nd, 2020. First item, we'll take roll. Commissioner Moore,
Here?
Commissioner Said,
Here.
Commissioner Holt. Here. Commissioner Mattison, I'm here. Commissioner Cook.
Here.
Commissioner Bevel is absent. Commissioner Bond.
Here.
Thank you. And if I could ask everyone to rise for an invocation and remain standing afterwards for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity to come and gather together this day, blessed to live in the city of Colleyville and in the great state of Texas. We ask for your hand of blessing on this meeting. We ask that you would guide and direct our meeting so that it is full of wisdom, respect for one another, and the common good for all our citizens. Thank you for helping us to accomplish our work and our goals this day. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, this is an open hearing this evening, so I'd like to invite any citizens to come forward that would like to speak on items that are not on our agenda this evening. Public hearing is open. Seeing no one coming forward, I'm going to close the public hearing. Public hearing is closed. Next item, we have some minutes we need to approve, just a little housekeeping. These are minutes that were included in our packet from the May 20th, 2020 regular meeting. Does anyone have any questions or comments on the minutes? Or any suggestions for modifications? Okay, if not, I would like to request a motion, please.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes from the May 20th P and Z meeting.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you very much. We are voting to approve the minutes from our May 11th, 2020 regular meeting. Commissioner Moore.
Aye.
Commissioner Said.
Aye.
Commissioner Holt.
Aye.
Commissioner Mattison votes aye. Commissioner Cook.
Aye.
Commissioner Bevel's absent. Commissioner Bond.
Aye.
Thank you. All right, the minutes are approved. Looks like we're catching up on our minutes. That's great news. Thank you. Okay. The next item was tabled from the June 8, 2020 meeting. It is the consideration of a special use permit for a fence to extend into the required street yard on Lot 1, Block 1 of the Stowe Addition, located at 816 Shelton Drive, case number ZC20-009. And again, this was tabled from the June 8, 2020 Planning and Zoning meeting. So the first item I'd like to do is request a motion to remove this item from the table.
Motion, we remove case ZC20-009 from the table.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All right, so we're going to vote in affirmative to remove case number ZC 20-009 from the table. Commissioner Moore,
Aye.
Commissioner Said,
Aye.
Commissioner Holt,
Aye.
Commissioner Matheson votes aye, Commissioner Cook,
Aye.
Commissioner Bevel's absent, Commissioner Bond.
Aye.
Thank you, the item has been removed. Okay, very good. Would you like to present this case?
I will, thank you. So this is a request, an SUP for a 5-foot steel fence to encroach into the street side yard setback for a corner lot on Lot 1, Block 1 of the Stowe Addition, and it's just under half an acre. It's zoned ag for 816 Shelton Drive. There's the aerial, and there's the zoning map showing the agriculture zoning, as well as the future land use map there indicating it to be residential. And that's the home under construction with the pictometry picture there. Quick history, November 2017, this property received a minor plat with plat waivers, which was approved. In December of 2018, a building permit for a new home was submitted and approved. Then in January 2019, August of 2019, the Land Development Code was amended for the placing of fencing from property lines adjacent to a street. In February 2020, a fence permit application was submitted and denied, and then in May of 2020, an SUP application was submitted. And that's before you this evening. So here's the lot and the lot size there, but also where the placement of the fence would like to be. It's that blue line. Got some better exhibits here to show that, but there is about 10 feet between where that fence would be placed and then the build line. And these are just some photos showing the posts are already up there. The fence is not. The posts are the location where that fence would be if it were to be approved. So you can kind of see where that would be placed along Pleasant Run Road there. And then here are some more photos that were provided by the applicant showing similar type things. And then these were photos provided by the applicant for other properties in the area. All of these are over 40,000 square feet in lot size. We did send our notification requirements to property owners within 500 feet. I believe at the last meeting, we did have someone speak in opposition. Staff is recommending denial as it does not meet the technical requirements of the Land Development Code.
Okay, I'm sorry, can you remind me, are they requesting a wood fence or iron fence?
A steel fence, so a metal.
I see, okay. Does anyone else have any questions for staff at this point?
No.
No. Okay. If the applicant's here, I would invite you to come forward to speak on your case. And just as a reminder, if you can please state your name and address for the public record.
Sure. Mark Cooper. My address is 2804 Lakebrook Court in Highland Village, Texas. To give you a little bit of background, I'm the builder for 816 Shelton, so I'm representing the owners there, applying for this variance. Been in the building business since 1984, 36 years. Actually served on P&Z in my community for 5 years, so I understand a little bit of y'all's plight, but don't have all the answers for sure. But I did watch the work session earlier, which brought up some good questions. Some of the questions I'd already been kind of going through in my mind as well too. Just to clarify a few things, so just want to make sure we're not asking to go in their front yard. This is just really trying to go back to the property line with it's steel fence is what I said in there, because most of them actually are steel fences. The common term these days is really wrought iron fence still, even though it's not actually a wrought iron fence, and most people don't put those in. So their goal was to put a double gate across the driveway with a 5-foot fence around the driveway. So wouldn't block visibility, but would they be able to have some privacy back there as far as security, not having to worry about people coming into their driveway as they're entering or exiting back there. There is a church directly across the street, a middle school, catty-cornered as well too. And one of the things I brought up in the last meeting was there's a sidewalk basically 10 foot away from where the driveway is. It's actually even a little bit less than that. And those sidewalks are heavily traveled on Pleasant Run. See a lot of skateboarders, a lot of bicyclers, so forth. So I did bring up the fact that really from the perspective of the kids going or people going up and down the sidewalk, it could be a potential safety issue for them. And the owners are concerned as well, too, that it's a safety for them as well. You know, after hours, it's dark. A lot of people want to be able to pull in their driveway, pull in their garage, and feel comfortable that somebody couldn't easily get into their garage area. So from that perspective, you know, they're concerned for safety. And obviously with, you know, a lot of the current events these days, you see a lot of public gatherings. If there was a big, large public gathering at the church or at the school, there could be overflow pushing into their lot. So that's a concern for them as well, too. But as I was listening to y'all's arguments earlier, really the bigger issue, and I understand y'all seem to be on board with the Creekside issue, but I would just argue that it's not an issue specifically for Creekside. I think it's really a citywide issue. I've worked in a lot of cities in this metroplex, and usually what you'll see is fences, and a lot of times typically wood fences are allowed to go out to the property line. The biggest issue that you see a lot is making sure there's not a clip there that's blocking the visibility for a corner lot so people can see effectively when they're trying to make a turn. Sold a lot of houses. When people buy lots, they usually look for corner lots because they're looking for a large lot. And effectively, when you limit the fence to go to where the end of the house is, basically, because most people are going to build on the building line, you're not allowing them to use any of that side yard at all. And that's a big issue for people. I know the lady that was with Mainview that spoke last week brought that up, that she had some contracts she was fearing that she would lose had she not gotten approval on those. And for that reason, because people want that side yard either used for dogs, or sometimes it's bedrooms are on that side too. And by having a fence over there, at least they feel like they have some privacy and some security for those bedrooms, especially for young children. So it's an issue that does come up quite a bit. And I've seen this before, like I said, in other areas. And in other areas, and that's one of the things I brought up. I showed some of the existing properties, and I didn't realize at the time that over 40,000, it's a different regulation. But obviously, the big, nice estate homes in Colleyville, you've got some beautiful fences out there with brick columns, concrete entrances. I mean, it's a great look. And to me, that's the type of look in Colleyville you'd want to really push for. And that's really, it's an expensive look, it's a quality look, and it's a look that helps the whole community. And I think people would want that. I built in other communities where they actually required, columns on corners for that reason, because they wanted it to have that nicer look and appeal, because it's, being a corner lot, has more visibility than most houses does. So that's going to be the area that people see first. And Pleasant Run, heavily traveled, I would think as a community, that's something you want to address as well too. But I would just say, I would hope, from my perspective, from the building side of it, that y'all would consider looking at the ordinance itself. I mean, we all know that ordinances aren't perfect, and that's why you guys are here, to help those issues that are kind of in between how the ordinance is written. A lot of times they're not written with the intent that they were supposed to be written. So I would suggest or push that y'all really try to dial down what the intent of this ordinance was. Because it's my understanding that we could still build a fence, but it'd be a 30-inch high fence. And I really don't understand what that accomplishes. I mean, I've built in communities where it's old historic homes, craftsman homes. We do the nice little white picket fences that are 30 inches. And that's about the only place I've really seen where that type of application applies. So 30-inch metal fence, just looking for tidbits. I looked middle school track team, their hurdles are typically 30 inches high. So I thought, well, we got a middle school right across the street over here. Last thing we want is kids hurtling over that fence. But I think from an aesthetic standpoint, and somebody suggested last meeting too, that we could do some landscape buffering. But the buffering doesn't really provide you security, and landscaping can be an issue as well. Somebody plants a bunch of photinias there, next thing, 10 years from now, you have a 20-foot high wall of photinia plants there, and that's not pleasing either. A nice, well-designed fence, to me, would be a lot more pleasing solution for that. And then one other note, too, the neighbor spoke up last time in opposition. I totally understand her position and her concern with the situation. I live on a lot next to a corner lot as well. I tried to purchase the lot next door so I could control what happened there. I wasn't able to purchase it. I had another buyer that actually brought a buyer to me because they want to be able to control what was being built next door to them. So it's a big issue for people, and I understand her concerns. She vocalized to me that she really wishes the house would have faced Pleasant Run. And I understand her concerns. Personally, I think it sets up better on 816 Shelton, and I think that was probably the better decision. But regardless, a house was going to be built there eventually. And there's not much you can do to control that other than buying the lot or trying to, to control the build one way or the other. So completely understand her concern. I'm sure she'll speak up. I'm sorry she's unhappy about it, but we built the house in compliance. We did everything we could. So to me, I think her issues are more in line with she's not happy about the house being there versus the fence. We've offered, and we're still open to any suggestions as far as putting landscaping or anything else to try to buffer it, to make it feel better for her and more comfortable as well. So we're definitely open to that. So that's really my appeal, and I appreciate y'all's, number one, tabling it, and number two, allowing us to speak up and vocalize our concerns.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
I have a question for you, sir. Yes. So you're looking to extend, if you look at the picture of the driveway, you're looking to extend this fence all the way to the other individual's property line?
Their property line adjoins their back property line. So the side property line, and the blue line is not correct. Where you see the front of the house is where the gate would be, and the fence doesn't go past that point. So actually the fence just goes back from basically about where your red circle is, back towards her property. But the fence.
Right on her property line?
Yes, it would be on her property line. So, but.
Would it encroach her property line?
No.
Okay,
No, it'd be,
just curious.
it's just a common, just like any fence would be. Typically, it's right on the property line. So another thing that I've thought about that we could do to maybe help buffer it a little bit more, really the applicant's concern is security, privacy, is we'd even offer to put the fence on the back side of the driveway on her side. We could pull it all the way to the driveway on that side as well too. So it's actually not on her property line. So that'd create even a bigger buffer. But really the fence is basically just encompassing the driveway and then going back to her property line at this point.
But there's an existing fence, right?
Did
Wood
she-
fence. Is that correct?
If you go, you go back to, I think 3 or 4 pictures right there. has an-
Behind the, on this property that you're representing,
Yes,
there's an existing fence, is that correct? That's
there is. There's a wood fence that goes from the back of that,
Right.
there you can see it there.
Yeah.
Which
Okay.
goes and it ties in with her fence that comes up to the front of her house on that side. So you can see where the posts are at. We would even be open to moving the posts on her side all the way up to the driveway, just so she wouldn't have the fence that close to her, give her more of a visibility looking from the front of her yard.
Okay.
So because that's kind of where my head was, that you would be willing to move the fence off her property line onto the edge of the concrete?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, their biggest concern is security, safety. They're quiet people. They enjoy their house. They're glad to be there, but they're concerned that, with the heavy amount of traffic and people going through there, that if they're backing out of their garage, there's no telling who or what they could run over or hit. And when they're coming in, they want to be able to at least have a fence of some sort to make sure somebody can't sneak in, run into their garage real quick. So
But they bought this house knowing that it was on a busy street, correct?
they did, but they also, when we started building, it was in December of 2018. And had we applied several months earlier, we would have been able to get this approved, and without the new code wouldn't have been changed at that point.
So if you look at, there's a home, catty corner on Shelton across the street that has the lower, the 30-inch stone wall, 30-inch. It actually looks pretty nice. Have you seen that one? It's kind of catty corner. It's on Shelton. Can you pull
I
up
don't recall seeing one over there. It's actually in the front yard of Shelton?
Yeah.
So I would assume that's over 40,000 feet?
Yeah, it is, over 40,000. But it's 30 inches in height.
I don't recall seeing one 30 inches. I'll go back and look and see.
Okay.
But me personally, why would you put in a 30-inch high fence? I mean, to me, it doesn't serve any purpose. But that's just me personally. But I would think other people are probably going to have that same concern. Usually people want to have a fence high enough to either maintain pets or maintain kids so they can use that side yard. Again, like I said, side yards are usually, or corner lots are usually purchased because people want a bigger, nicer lot.
Any other questions for the applicant?
I do have a question.
Okay.
Sir, I saw a post up front on the other side of the driveway. So do you have any plan to put an automatic gate or some kind?
We do, that's part of the proposal. We have double automatic gates on the front. So their goal was to be able to hit their gates, open up, go into their driveway, pull into the garage, shut their gates, and have security.
So I have a question with the staff. Do you know about this?
That would be part of the building permit, the fence permit process.
You can see in this corner, there is a post up there.
I see it. So does that mean this fence is going to go to the edge of the property, the edge of the corner of the garage?
It will, yes. The fence goes up the driveway, as you see, and then there would be a double gate closing off the driveway, and then there's a little piece of fence that would go from that post to the house,
Okay.
all behind the front of the house.
Okay. All right.
So just to be clear, when this house, I'm assuming it's these homeowners, when this house was being constructed and the garages were put facing the street, they were under the impression that, or the ordinance stated that they could have this fence in this area. Am I right about that? And then that changed after they had already started construction?
It didn't. It changed, like I said, about 3 months prior to us completing the home.
Can we have confirmation from staff on that? Please?
It was permitted in December of 2018.
Okay. But not the fence?
The fence, now, there was confusion on my part. I thought fences in some cities, you can permit the fences with the house itself.
Okay.
So as I got to that point, said we're ready to put our fence up, I went and checked with the city, said, oh, no, you have to do a separate permit here. So I had my fence company go up and submit for a separate permit.
Okay.
And by that time, the ordinance had changed?
Yes, it had.
Okay. Any more questions?
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Okay. All right, at this point, I'd like to open the public hearing. If anyone wishes to come forward to speak in affirmative or opposition to this item, public hearing is open.
I'm sorry, I didn't know who to give my little piece of paper to. I'm Lisa Grossman, and I live at 6014 Pleasant Run Road to the north of 816 Shelton. I've built 2 houses in Colleyville, and I've been in this one for 4 years. Does this turn on automatically? They're asking for a special use permit to put 140 feet of 6-foot tall wrought iron fence around their driveway pad in their side yard, which faces Pleasant Run, in the area where all the other houses have front yards. I'm speaking in opposition for the second time. The current ordinance only allows 30-inch fences in side yards, and this requirement is common in nearby cities like Bedford, Arlington, Fort Worth, and Grand Prairie. This rule prevents the unfriendly-looking fortresses that we do see in some parts of the area. In February, they installed 6-foot 4-inch fence posts without a fence permit. If this fence is now allowed, it won't give them any extra privacy, additional security, or more safety for pedestrians. There were no special conditions on the lot. They just want this fence. But it will be an eyesore for me and everyone else who drives down the street, and it will set a precedent for others. My lot and theirs were zoned ag and required variances. Neighbors and I spoke before the city council about this lot 4 times between June and October 2017. We all agreed that they should receive the same setbacks that I received. I missed the 5th city council meeting on November 21st as I had a house full of Thanksgiving guests. At this meeting, someone suggested that it would look better to turn the house facing Shelton, and the city council approved it. However, the city council did not give them the setbacks they gave me. My rear setback is 25 feet. Theirs is 15 feet. The green indicates the stockade fence that they extended my fence. My fence only comes up, there's a chunk of my house in front of my fence, and they added this stockade fence to there. The blue lines are what they're proposing. So the buyer built a 5,000 square foot 2-story house 15 feet from my fence. The house is 85 feet long with 12 windows facing my house. Because they were only required to give an 11-foot right-of-way on Pleasant Run, and I had to give 22 feet, they were allowed to extend their house 11 feet beyond the front of my house. I have 7 windows on the south facing their house, and I have lost all my sunlight. I can't see any sky. All I can see is their brick and their 12 windows. The only sky and greenery that I can see is out my front window. And if they receive this special use permit, this is what it's going to look like for me. Jail cells. The owners could have done research with the city like many of us did. They could have selected house plans that put their driveway on the west protected side. They could have bought different land. Just because they wanted a fence and started erecting it without a permit does not make their wishes more important than mine. It does not make their desire more important than the image Colleyville aims to protect. Only 3 homes on Shelton have driveway gates, and all are in their front yards. Colleyville is ranked in the top 100 safest cities in the country. This family has apparently lived there safely for 3 months without a fenced driveway. And their garage is right on the street where if somebody was trying to break in, somebody would call the police. I certainly would. Mr. Cooper explained on June 8th that the family said they needed a fence for privacy, safety, and to prevent children from falling on their driveway. I just need to tell you that no one walks on our side of Pleasant Run because both to the north and to the south there are large stretches of no sidewalk. The bar ditch comes right up to the fence. So nobody walks there. Everyone walks on the Colleyville Elementary side. And even kind of our side of Shelton doesn't have sidewalks all the way. Their house will not be safer with a fence than without. Their land, like all the lots around them where new homes have been built, had no special circumstances. It should not be a hardship to live without a tall, non-conforming fence around their side yard driveway. And I believe it's in the public good and certainly my enjoyment of my home to not have to look at wrought iron bars where everyone else has grass, bushes, and flowers in the front yards. To me, this fence would be an eyesore and would look out of place and would diminish the beauty and uniformity of our neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to ask the applicant if you'd like to respond.
Just a couple points. I think she said 6-foot fence, obviously it is a 5-foot fence. And at the time of permitting, they were allowed to do that. And as far as the zoning of allowing the fence or the house to be facing Shelton, again, that was out of her control, it was out of their control. The setbacks, were still usurious as far as the applicants are concerned as well. They have a 40-foot setback on that side yard over there, and they have a 40-foot setback in the front. So that's why they had to allow at least a 15-foot setback in the back, otherwise the lot would not have been buildable. So that's kind of why they made those concessions. I wasn't there, I can't speak for them, but I'm assuming after what they told me, that was the issues for it. So, thank you again.
Yeah, it was kind of, the building itself, the structure itself was kind of shoehorned into this lot, if I recall correctly.
Well, it's said, with the building setbacks that we had, 40 foot in the front, 40 foot on the Pleasant Run side, and 15 foot in the back, it was about as tight. The house is really shallow, so they had to go 2 stories in order to get, it's 5,000 foot is after you add the garages and the patios. The house itself is 3,800 square feet. So in order to get a decent-sized house, they had to go 2 stories with it. And unfortunately, with 2 stories, if any 2-story home is going to provide shadows on her house, and I feel for her, I understand the situation. You know, I wouldn't like that either, but unfortunately, you can't control what's being built next door to you, and those are some of the results of it. As far as the fence goes, like I said, we're offering to move the fence over. We can do a screening, whatever we can. All they're really trying to achieve is just security around their driveway. And I think that's a reasonable request.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, if no one else wishes to come forward, I'm going to close the public hearing. Public hearing is closed. I would like to invite my fellow commissioners to discuss this matter. I will say that I can definitely understand where the applicant's coming from in the fact that the permit was requested after the regulations were changed. But I also can understand the individual, and I know the reason. City Council and we also, this body spent a lot of time on going through the machinations of the Land Development Code. So a lot of time was spent and thought was spent on that code. And I do know that one of the primary goals that we have, and also City Council has, is to maintain the integrity of a neighborhood. So with that, I will open discussion.
You know, I feel for them on the dates that this went down, and we're certainly subject to seeing cases that, you know, the building permit was before the change in the code and whatnot, and, you know, council can act how they wish to on that, but for me, I can't find the hardship. This is a personal preference deal, not a hardship. And you know, no resolution's been come to with the neighbor from behind. They had 2 weeks to get that done. So, you know, we wrote this language to prevent this. They can put up a 30-inch fence if they would like to. But I can't find a hardship in this, and that's what I try to look for in these types of situations, is the hardship in it and the uniqueness of it and how did it happen. But it's a personal preference, and it's unfortunate because of the dates that things fall on. You know.
Yep, so, I agree completely. Seeing the pictures that would depict the fence, that's a little different than what we're seeing on the properties down the road with the brick and the wrought iron, the detailed. This is, I'm not sure that I don't see a hardship, and I think that this would modify the integrity of the neighborhood, especially this Shelton, this street. Any other comments?
Yeah, mine's are a little different.
Okay.
Because I do think this is unique, and I do believe that, I see things on both sides here, but this house was built, or started, it was being built before the change was made. The driveway was put in the side of the house, and I think the intent probably at that time was to enclose the driveway, and then the code changed. I also feel for the woman who lives next door. I mean, I would not want a fence on my front yard property line either. But I also, trying to separate things in my head. I can't go back and change the way the house is laid out or what was approved by P&Z. I wasn't on P&Z at that time when this was discussed, or how city council, laid out the lot. That's separate to me. I'm not happy about that, but it's separate. I also think it's reasonable, given where this house is at, to want this driveway area to be enclosed. It is on Pleasant Run. It's a busier street. They're on the edge of a neighborhood. Across the street is a church and a school. And, it is a little busier of an area. So I think wanting to enclose that driveway area is a reasonable request. Now, what I would approve is if the fence line, the iron fence just encased the driveway, did not go back to the neighbor's property line. If it just encased the driveway, and that's what I would feel comfortable approving. I also think that if there was any type of landscaping that the resident next door wanted to try to give that side a more natural look, I'd recommend that as well. But I won't approve as is. I would vote to approve if they moved the back side fence to the back side of the driveway, not the property line.
Well, I will make a comment that I was on P&Z at the time, and I do remember why this property was shifted. It was in order for them to be allowed to build a structure of that size on this lot. This is a very small lot. And as I mentioned before, it was shoehorned in there. And City Council and we have already given allotments on the setbacks that are generous, I think, and allowed for this property to be built. Again, I don't think the structure would have been able to be as large as it is without those modifications and allowances. So any other comments or questions? What would you say on this, Kimberly, as a realtor?
I mean, I see both sides. I see both sides.
Yeah, I mean, I can see both sides, but I have to go back to looking at our position is to maintain the code as it stands unless there's a unique reason to satisfy a hardship. And I don't see that in this case, and that's where I stand.
Well, I tend to agree that it's really not a hardship, like with what Ryan said. And I guess I wasn't on P&Z at this time either, but if what you say is true, that there were allowances made to accommodate their house already, then I'm not sure another one should be made to accommodate a fence that is now a problem for the neighbor.
I agree.
The way I'm leaning.
Right, so the setbacks at the neighbor's house, I think it's 25 feet, and their setback that was allowed is 15 feet. That's a difference of 10 feet.
But to me, those are separate issues, because the house was built, period. At the end of the day, it's built the way it is. Can't go back and change any of that. And so, in my mind, that has nothing to do with this decision, because it was approved, it was built. Everybody knew that this was being built this way at the time. And at that time, he could have put a fence up. And fortunately, depending on your point of view, we waited a little too long to permit the fence part. He said he thought the fence permitting was part of the house permitting. It's not. So we waited a little too long to permit the fence. But I only point of bringing that up is that, to me, they're separate issues completely. And I think that if you put this fence more on the driveway area alone, I don't know if you guys would pass it or not, but that's what I'd be willing to motion on.
Okay.
But I don't like it the way it is, because I don't think she should have a fence on her property line. I will agree with that.
Anyone else have any comments on his
I would
suggestion?
like to say something. Ordinance are there for the reasons. And if I do not like someone put a fence in front of my house, although it's on my neighbor's property, it's there. The regulations are there to put the fence, but not at the property line.
I agree. That's why I'm suggesting changing it.
So are you agreeing with him that you would perhaps lean towards approving a modification of the fence?
No, I'm not leaning
Okay,
towards
you're not.
that.
Okay, okay.
Well, and I agree with what you said too, Matt, except that from the neighbor's point of view, you have to take everything into consideration. It is a big picture for the neighbor, you know, when they're looking at, okay, well, now the setbacks are different, now the fence is different, like there's several things at play here, and they all come together to form a big picture for the neighbor.
And I guess that's why I agree that the fence shouldn't be on her property line. Even if it has separate issues, I still think it shouldn't be on her property line in her front yard. I agree with that.
It's not only the neighbor, but the all over neighborhood. You see, the houses, those who have fence in their front yard, or these kind of wrought iron fence that the applicant mentioned, those are bigger lots, 1 acre, 1.5 acre, 2 acre lots. This is a small lot. And it's the backyard and the side of the house, not the front of the house. But it's someone's facing towards someone's front yard.
Okay, I think I know where I stand on this, but I would like to request a motion if there's no other discussion to be had on this item. Someone like to make a motion?
He's raising his hands.
Oh, I'm sorry. Would you like to come forward, please?
I just want to clarify one point. I didn't bring it back up, I brought it up last time. When the permit was submitted for the building of the home, the fence was on the site plan and located on the site plan where it is being proposed to be built now. So it was submitted that way as a building permit. So that was always the intent, and that was the intent at the starting of the home. So just wanted to make that point. It was really confusion over whether the permit needed to be submitted at that time for the fence. Like I said, a lot of cities don't require that. Colleyville does, understand that. And then you have the other unusual circumstance where the ordinance changed while we were building the home. I mean, I don't know if y'all send out notifications to existing permits that are being built, so those people would be aware of that or the changes. And a lot of times those things are retroactive to any new permits being submitted after that time. It probably should have been retroactive from our situation to any new building permits, not to any new fence permits.
So when you submitted, I'm repeating what you just said, I think. So when you submitted the original building plan, the fence was part of your building plan, even though
Yes.
we required a separate
Correct,
permit for the fence. You did not know that at that time.
correct. It was on the
Changed.
site plan, it was shown on the site plan, that's where we wanted to construct it, and it was submitted as a building permit with it on the site plan.
So did city issue you the permit for the fence at that time or not?
No, they just issued the permit for the building permit. But many cities, when they issue a permit for the house alone, there's other things that are permitted underneath that. Fences usually being one of those. Colleyville's different, and that's okay, every city's different. But the intent was, and it was submitted with a fence on the site plan, showing the fence in that location. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I don't know that it really makes a difference whether or not the fence was included in the photograph, because it wasn't permitted at the time, so I'm going to repeat my comment. If anyone, I'd like to request a motion on this item. I think we've, unless there's more discussion to be had.
Well, since I don't know if I'll even get a second on this, but I'll try. I will make a motion to approve case ZC 20-009 with the change of putting the fence along the boundary of the driveway, not along the property line in the back of the yard. So the fence would just be around the driveway itself with an automatic gate, wrought iron or steel fence. That's my motion.
Okay, do I have a second? Okay, all right, hearing no second, I'd like to, I think I need to request a different motion, isn't that correct? Okay, motion failed, so I would like to ask for another motion, please.
Okay. I'll motion to deny case ZC 20-009.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second. I'm sorry, I was looking for the case number.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion to deny case number ZC 20-009. I'd like to take a vote, please. Commissioner Moore.
Aye?
And just as a reminder, a vote aye is a vote for denial of this case. Commissioner Said,
Aye.
Commissioner Holt,
Aye.
Commissioner Matheson votes aye, Commissioner Cook,
Nay.
Commissioner Bond.
Aye.
All right, so the motion is approved, 5-1. Okay, all right. With that, I don't see any other items on our agenda, so I will call for an adjournment. Thank you.